How do we deal with these walls? Well, first of all, you have to label your wall. Everybody say, put a label on it. You got to. You can't fight something you haven't identified. In order to destroy or demolish or to take hostage a rebellious or insurgent thought in your mind, you first of all have to label it. And that's why Paul was so confident. He was confident that he could help people overcome their strongholds and that he could overcome his own strongholds because he knew where they were. He realized that he was not dealing with just men. He realized that he was not dealing with just himself. He realized that he was not dealing with just his own urges. He was dealing with those things that were swimming in his mind. And so when you know where the walls are, you can actually identify them and demolish them. Now, I did some homework on insurgent forces, rebellious forces that continue to wage war after the battle is over. And the reason why they are so effective is because you can't identify them. They just look like civilians. They blend in with the crowd. Insurgents, rebels, they blend in with the crowd. They don't wear military fatigues. They just wear just the stuff that you and I, they just dress like they just came from Old Navy. They just look like everybody else. In fact, an insurgent will befriend the enemy in order to get the intel necessary to attack later. Insurgents come as friends, but ultimately they demonstrate that they have loyalties to another army. And this is the same way it is with insurgent ideas, with walls in our minds. They come to us as friends. They feel right. They sound right. In fact, they've been co-signed by other people that we trust. But it's only later in life. It's only down the road. It's only a couple of years later that they reveal that they had loyalty to the opposing army. Anybody thought you was right about something for 3 or 4 years? If it feels good, do it. That just sounds right. Look out for number one. That just sounds right. Everybody says it. But it's a rebellious, pseudo-intellectual justification for independence from God. Y'all not going to help me preach today. I see that. I'm going to preach anyway. And so the problem, here's the problem. This is why you don't do and I don't do sometimes what I want to do. I'm stuck behind the wall. I'm stuck. Can I give you some examples? There are thousands of walls. There are thousands of walls, but I just want to call a few of them for you here. First of all, there's this wall of secrecy. It's expressed in various ways, but one of the most common expressions is this: if they really knew me, they would reject me. And this is a wall that keeps us away from the very people that God sent to serve us in this life. Then there are walls of pride. I don't understand people. This is a wall of pride. Now, the unedited version of that, the home version, the behind closed doors version of that is people are crazy. People are silly. People are not worth my time. And when we fantasize about our own superiority to those around us, it keeps us from making the contribution in this life that God has intended that we make, because we feel that we just can't hang out with certain people. People are crazy. How, like you? We have a similar crazy. At its core, it's the same thing. Every sin is the same thing. It's just a refusal to be dependent upon God. Every sin is the same thing. Your brand of crazy is not my brand of crazy, but I guarantee you there's some craziness somewhere. And it's when we fantasize about our own superiority that we stay away from the very people to whom God has sent us to make a contribution. Am I talking to anybody yet? Let me see if I can boil down your mind. Here it is. What about walls? Walls of comfort. Walls of comfort. If God were in it, if it were God's will, it would be easy. That's a wall of comfort. And I hear people say this all the time. It just don't seem right. It's just too hard. God wouldn't want this. Do you understand that the hero of the Bible, Jesus, was murdered for no reason? So how do you think life and God's will is going to be easy? The most heroic figure in the Bible was murdered without a real trial. When we hide behind walls of comfort, it keeps us confused about life because life doesn't bend to our comfort. And sometimes the most significant aspects of the will of God are not comfortable. Walls of comfort. Can I give you another one? I'm here anyway. Let me give it to you. Here it is. Walls of inadequacy. I wish I were like him. I wish I wish our marriage was like their marriage. Walls of inadequacy. These walls keep us from enjoying who we are. Friend, as long as you spend time fantasizing about being somebody else, you can't enjoy who you are. Figure out your genius. Figure out your greatness. Because God, when he was passing out greatness, he didn't skip over you. God is trying to make us originals, and some of us choose and opt to be a cheap copy of somebody else. Walls here, walls there, walls everywhere. There are walls. And they keep us from doing what it is that God wants us to do. I can go on and on. Walls of abuse, walls of addiction, walls of independence, walls of desperation, walls of depression, walls of anxiety, walls everywhere. And it's the walls, the strongholds, the insurgent, rebellious, pseudo-intellectual ideas that keep us from the high purposes of God in our lives. But in order to overcome them, I've got to label it. Everybody say, I got to label this thing. Yeah. Anybody here, you already know at least one of your walls? Let me see if you know at least one. You got to put a name on it. You just don't just say, I just can't do that. Usually there's an idea behind the activity. See, if you can isolate the idea, you can manage the activity. We sin from the inside out. That's how you sin. You sin. It starts in your mind. And James says, when that thought matures, it gives birth to sin. And when sin matures, it gives birth to death. Separation from God. So we've got to identify these walls. Got to label them. Got to name them. We got to know them. Because God has waged war against your wall. God has declared war and won it against your wall. And so now I've got to label it and I've got to conquer it, because this is not an indicator that I've lost. It's an indicator that I've got an enemy who refuses to embrace my new king. But I can deal with him through him. I don't know if you saw this story, but Amy Winehouse recently, now you know something was wrong with her. When she sings the song, said they tried to make me go to rehab. Walls. And I said, no. I was like, oh, Lord. She's not going to be here long. But it wasn't the drugs, it was the walls. It was the walls. In her last interview, she said these words. She said, I am my own worst critic. And what I have in my head, if I can't pull it off, then I will not be happy. I guess what she had in her head, she never pulled it off. And friend, I'll come by to tell you today that when what's in your head does not fit what's in reality, it's very difficult to be happy. And so the key to joy is to make sure that what's in my head fits what life is really like in the world. And when you have that, you have a recipe for joy and contentment. But I guarantee you, everything that's going south in your life is going south in your It's in your head. This battle is initiated in the head. This battle is fought in the head. This battle is won in the head. It's all about what's in my mind. In my mind. John Milton's character, Satan, in Paradise Lost said this: the mind is its own place. It can turn a heaven into hell or a hell into heaven. Depending on what's going on in your mind, you can call a blessed place cursed and a cursed place blessed. But whenever your head is not feeding you something that's true in reality, you're going to struggle in this life. Yeah, somebody here, you need to label that thing. Look at somebody near you. Say, is he talking to you? I don't know if he's talking to you yet. Let me give you another one. We got to label it. We got to label it. We got to label it. But then we also have got to let go of human weapons. Now watch this. Watch this. Labeling it is not enough. When we saw that, because many of us, we already know some of the walls. Now I dare say that some of us think we know our walls, but we really just know the perimeter. The real wall is inside what you think is the problem. And a lot of times we're so busy escaping the wall, escaping the issue, that we don't really investigate our walls long enough to identify a wall from other things, from a behavior. Now watch this. Let go of human weapons. And what I mean by that is that we've got to relinquish our trust in the strategies that we used before we found Christ. You understand, we are in a new place. We are in a new space. And the weapons of yesterday don't work in today's battles. They don't work in today's battles. They don't work in today's battles because we've got different objectives now. You see, before you got saved, you could use worldly weapons because all you were really interested in, some of us, was looking good. But you got a different objective. Now you're trying to be good. You need different skills for that. We used to be concerned about the haters around us. And now we're concerned about the haters within us. That's two different things. That's different stuff. We were looking for success. But now that we've been living a little longer, we want significance now, Adrian. And that requires different skills, different tactical moves. And that's why Paul said the weapons that we war with are not weapons of the world. The weapons of the world are not powerful enough to deal with the realities of this battle. This battle of insurgency is different. We've got to put those old weapons down. Let me change the metaphor a bit. Sean, give me that hammer over there. Give me that hammer. Now, if you wanted to try and knock down one of those skyscrapers downtown, what's the real pretty one? What's the name of that? The Frost Towers? Okay, listen, watch this. If you wanted to go up and try to knock that thing down, you might be able to knock a couple of windows out with this metal hammer. But I guarantee you it won't do anything to the steel beams that are necessary to tear down in order to bring the Frost Tower down. It won't do anything to the support system of the building. You might do damage to 2 or 3 windows. And even after you knock out 2 or 3 windows, the hammer will start getting loose on you. It's too much to use a hammer to knock down a tower. Some of us are not even using metal hammers. We just using rubber hammers. Is anybody here? Here you are trying to take on the towers of rebellion in your own soul with a rubber hammer. Understand, friend, if you have a rubber hammer mentality, that tower will never come down. We need